Welcome in to a loaded edition of the CHGO Bears Podcast on this Hall of Fame Saturday. That also included a practice at Hallis Hall. We got you covered everywhere. And CHGO Bears Training Camp coverage is presented by Ray Chevrolet. Shop the Freedom to Save sales event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive. Adam Hoge and Mark Carman here with you. We were both at Hallis Hall today, and we will break down practice as we usually do. We have Nicholas Moriano in Canton, and Greg Braggs Jr. has been watching the Hall of Fame speeches too. So we're going to bring Braggs in later in the show and have a little bit more of Hall of Fame discussion. Right now, we're going to talk to Nick, who's there in Canton, and we will table our best and worst for our second segment of today's show, just so everyone knows what's going on. Carm looks so thrilled to be here. Carm, straighten up your back. Get ready to go. How can you not be juiced up about Hall of Fame? Are you this anti-Devin Hester? We'll save that. We'll save the trolling for a second because Nick's got to get to the airport. Nick, how was it?
I mean, guys, this whole past couple of days has been really, really cool to see all the Bears fans here to celebrate Mongo, Julius Peppers, and of course Devin Hester. So it's been an eventful 3 days. The weather hasn't really cooperated, but it was cool just getting to see, the speeches up close and personal. And like after Mongo's everything ended for him, there were like 3 separate Mongo chants that went through the stadium, just again honoring everything that he's done. And then Devin, like hearing his speech, and his eldest son was there, and like he was crying, like just bursting out with tears. Like I got emotional just seeing Devin talk about his son and then talk about everything that he's been through to get to this point. So it was like going through memory lane, but just it was a really cool experience, just kind of getting to see all these Bears fans celebrate some of the greats.
So we, I don't know if everyone's hearing a little choppy,
Yeah.
Nick, but obviously he's in a car in a what was a rainstorm at the Hall of Fame. So we're trying to get you as much on site there. But I'm actually in a great mood, Hogan. I feel wonderful, and I had a great time at practice today, even though I sweat through a shirt, and it was a battle out there for the media today. But Nick, if we could try you one more time here, like the most poignant moment for you when Devin was up there, or back to Steve, or any experience really that you had today over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, with Hester, like it was really cool when he talked about, and hopefully you guys can hear me, talked about Lovie Smith, who was in attendance there, and just kind of just explaining how much he meant to him. And like Bears fans were just chanting love, like it went on for a good couple of seconds there. And again, that team, and Devin had a bunch of teammates there at the Hall of Fame: Tillman, Forte, Rasheed Davis, Johnny Knox, Tommy Harris, Craig Seltz, Brendan Adebayo, Garrett Wolf, Anthony Adams, Jason McKee, Patrick Malik, Jerry Zuma, Israel Donajay. So this shows how beloved Devin was to that team, and what he meant those years where the Bears were relevant, Nick, winning games.
Nick, hang on one second. I'm gonna pause you because the audio is just horrible, quite frankly. Do us a favor, just log out, come back in. We'll see if that fixes it. And if not, then we'll move on to some of the great content that Nick got while he was there in Canton. But we'll let him reset real quick because we were just talking to him and the audio was fine. So I'm gonna see if we just reset. That'll fix everything. But Nick has been in Canton since Thursday's game. Got some awesome content yesterday. Make sure you go check out our social channels at CHGO_sports, especially on Instagram, because the Instagram was loaded. Go see it there. And then, of course, at CHGO_Bears is our Twitter account. There's a bunch of stuff up there today as well. Nick got a chance to talk to Charles Tillman and Jerry Azuma, 2 former teammates, guys that, blocked for Devin Hester, were out there and obviously have a lot to say about Devin. So we're going to hear from them here shortly as well. And Nick, the weather messed with his day a little bit. This whole thing was supposed to be done by now. It's partially why our show's a little bit later, but Nick's got to get to the airport. So he was there for the Mongo stuff, which I actually managed to watch a little bit of here before we started the show. And then and Devin, and unfortunately unable to stay for the Julius Peppers part of the celebration, but still a lot of great content from Nick. So hopefully we can bring him back in here and see what it sounds like.
So, when I got home today after practice, I sat down and watched Devin Hoge, and Braggs will come on a little bit later, and I'm sure it was emotional for him. But how much pride Devin has in being in the Hall of Fame, to me, was the most beautiful part. And the way he underlined everyone who has helped him get there, from his best friend to the beautiful words about his mom and how emotional that was, to talking about his late father, to talking about his stepfather would have $4 in his pocket and would break down tape and then give him money to go have lunch and leave less money for himself. All those things. It just, Devin really, I just thought it was beautiful the way he just encapsulated his entire journey and how much it meant to him. That was the highlight for me.
Yeah, and I can't wait to watch Devin Hester's speech. The way we've been trying to have everything covered today, to not get a chance to watch it, and that'll be on my to-do list for sure as soon as the show is over. Was able to see some of the Steve Mongo McMichael stuff, which they obviously did at his house, and that was very touching as well. Let's do this right now, though, because I could already just tell watching from social media how much of a reunion this has been. I remember the same case being for Brian Urlacher when he got in. Just everyone from Lovie Smith. You heard that long list of names Nick was talking about, and he managed to catch up with Charles Tillman and Jerry Azuma for a little bit. So, Steven, let's go ahead and drop that in here, because it's not a terribly long interview. And we can hear from them while we try to get Nick back here on the show. But here's the conversation that Nick was able to have with Peanut and Jerry Azuma.
Guys, Hester's getting in. We're just kind of initial thoughts after he's about to go up there in just a few minutes here.
I'm excited, man. I was telling somebody today, we have this group chat going on with all the fellas, and at one point I just said, can y'all believe this dude is in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
And then I had the mind-blowing emoji. It means something. It means a little bit more when you know the person and he's your teammate. And having played with Devin, blocked for Devin, being around Devin, truly a privilege and an honor to be his teammate. And I'm happy for him and his family for what he was able to accomplish on that field.
Sure. What about you, Jerry? I mean,
just basically piggybacking off of Peanut, man, like the stuff that he was able to do right away when he came into the league. Like, he established himself as the best returner, pretty much ever right away. And then he got better and better, progressively better and better as time went on. And, honestly, I still think that he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But, like, it's really monumental because, like, he's seen as a returner, and he's the first returner to really get in just based off of that. And rightfully so. He's the best that we've ever seen. So I'm really happy to be in this moment, be in this time, and watching him getting enshrined into the Hall of Fame. It's pretty amazing.
For sure. In terms of just like a favorite moment that you had with Devin, not even maybe on the football field, what stands out about him just in person?
My favorite moment, the Giants game.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I didn't, Dave Tobe, our special teams coach, said, hey, defense stay, they're going to kick it, Devin go back. So kudos to Dave Tobe for realizing that Feely wasn't going to make the kick and it was going to be a little short.
Yeah.
And the way we got that wall set up for Devin, and I think I blocked Sean O'Hare. He's like twice my weight, twice my size, and then Devin kind of ran up the seam, and Hunter Hillemeyer took out the punter.
Yeah, that was excellent.
And then he just took it up in, and he did the balling. That was here. Jim Jones was like, balling, we fly,
yep.
No lie. Like that, to me, that play is, and at the time, it was the longest in the NFL.
It was amazing.
NFL history.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that
caught him
play,
sleeping.
Caught him sleeping. So that
Yeah.
play
I
kind of
think caught
stands out.
everybody sleeping. Nobody was like expecting to see that.
For me, it's definitely the Super Bowl. I mean, it's never been done at that moment in time, and what a hell of a way to start off a damn Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? He was back home, of his hometown, Miami, basically, where he went to school. This was just amazing, electrifying. We've never seen anything like that, and that's the reason why he's up there. He's the best.
I mean, two of the best ones.
That was freaking awesome. That was awesome.
I love the detail. Peanut knows the call. Defense stay. Just throw Hester back there, see what happens. Block it like you're returning an interception. And he remembers who he's blocking. That was fantastic.
Well, and guys, they love talking to the media and they love talking to Nicholas Moriano, but sometimes they don't love it. Those dudes, Peanut and Jerry, were like legit excited to celebrate Devin right there in the rain in a poncho. And I love that they talk about, I guess it's not a huge surprise, but I like that they talk about little moments in games the exact same way that like all of us would talk about, just our little moments in life as well. It's like I love seeing that level of joy thinking back about it. That was cool. Great job, Nick.
All right. Speaking of Nick, do we have Nick again here? I think we do. Let's hopefully his connection's better. He always looks good. There we go, Nick. Great stuff there with Peanut and Jerry Azuma. You were cutting in and out as you were telling us about who all was there. Just any stories, any color you can, relay back to us on what you've experienced. Because I believe when we first brought you on today, you said this is a day I will never forget.
Yeah, that was good and bad. But for the good, I will never forget it. And this connection looks a lot better. It's because I'm on my phone with Mint Mobile. Just saying, you guys. But just just hearing Devin Hester in his speech, and he highlighted a bunch of people: Lovie Smith, Dave Tobe, who Charles Tillman was mentioning there, and then like his sons, like him talking to his older son and seeing him he was bawling his eyes out, and I'm watching that. I'm getting emotional. Devin talking about his son, and like it was a very emotional moment for I think a lot of Bears fans seeing him go up there. And I think the message right at the end, like you don't know what life has in store for you, but whatever it is, you kind of run with it, right? And Devin was always labeled an athlete wherever he went, but when he accepted his role as a kick returner, he just wound up being the best kick returner of all freaking time. So it was really cool to hear him talk about that, and then hear Mongo and like all the chants that were going on after like everything wrapped up with the speech there, and like showing him on video back at his home. Like that was, I think, very sentimental to Bears fans and everybody who was there.
You bring up the Mongo part, and I don't want to put any rain on this parade, but and it's an unbelievable day, obviously, for Steve and his family, and it's great that it happened. But I will also remind everybody that it sucks that we didn't get to hear from Steve McMichael today. Because Steve McMichael on that podium today would have been freaking unbelievable, whatever would have come out of his mouth. First class all the way, heart on his sleeve, stories he would have told. I mean, we honestly got ripped off, not getting to hear from 76 today. So it's just a bummer.
But I will say, and I believe, Nick, they played this in the stadium too. His sister Kathy basically worked on his acceptance speech with him over the last year and a half, and she read. It was obviously way shorter than it would have been if Mongo had been able to talk today. But I appreciated how it was written. She even threw in the baby in there like a bunch of times, trying to read it the way that he would have come across. I echo what you're saying, Carm, because I mean, Mongo was such a great entertainer, and I can't imagine how epic that Hall of Fame speech would have been. But I still appreciated, his sister being able to share a shortened version that was, you could clearly tell, was written in his words.
Yeah, no, that was cool. And also too, like the night before, Herb Howard and I went to an event, that was kind of in dedication to Mongo and also bringing awareness to ALS, and seeing like Dan Hampton and Richard Dent on stage with the Chicago Six performing like that. They were great. They put on a show, and showed some highlights of Mongo back when he was performing. Like it was a party. Jim McMahon was also there, like in the background. So it was a really cool space to just be in, where a bunch of Bears fans again were kind of celebrating what Mongo did on the field, and obviously just remembering him right now, what he's kind of going through. So, and really quickly, guys, before this connection, it's been, I think, all right, but I just want to highlight and give a shout out to all the people that I met that watch CHGO throughout my couple of days here. I have Will, who listens every day. He does get a little upset when we do take a day off, but he understands that we need to take some time off. But Will, he loves us. I met Michael, who's actually Tyson Bagent's roommate in college, and he saw my video of trying to do the burpee mile challenge, and they saw that video, and they respect the hell out of my efforts there. But I told them I'm going to go back and do that again, finish it out. So that was pretty cool. Dylan, who's also a huge Hester fan, Nicholas and his dad. I also met Eric. Coach Wiz actually coached Chris Emma in football, I think his freshman year. So that was an interesting connection there. I have to tell that to Chris Emma when I see him. Nick from Seattle, Rob from Arizona, and then Dave and Aiden from New York. So I want to give all those guys a shout out before
awesome.
I head back.
Well,
biggest
Nick,
thing I learned there is that Chris Emma played football.
I think it was 1 year.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk out of turn here, but your burpee lunge situation, we might have to take that to the next level as we continue to build our relationship with Tyson Bajan coming up here this week. So just get ready, Nick, because I got ideas for you.
Oh, I'm always ready. I'm ready to go. Oh, I don't remember which one of those people mentioned this, but they're like, is Mark Carman here? I'm like, no, he's not. He's like, thank God. But he was joking. He was joking, though, in a way. It was kind of funny.
Thank you, Nick.
There's always one. There's always one.
I didn't
Nick.
know that Pizzatola made it to Canton.
Pizzatola
He loves
he's in the Hall of Fame of CHGO viewers.
He really is.
Yeah. Nick, great stuff. I hope I know it's been a crazy few days and the weather hasn't been great, but I hope you got a lot out of it. I'm jealous. I've never been to Canton, and it seemed like a lot of cool stuff. And again, I'll just reiterate, all of it's on our social media channels, so check it out. So thanks so much, man. Safe trip home.
Yep. All right, you guys. See you back at training camp.
Awesome. Yeah, Nick will be back there tomorrow. Bears back in pads tomorrow. We're going to have more Hall of Fame discussion for you. We're kind of doing a hybrid show. We're going to bounce back and forth here a little bit. I know people want to hear about what happened at practice today too. So we're going to go focus a little bit on our best and worst of practice. And then Greg Braggs is going to join us a little bit later on in the show. We'll continue to talk about the Hall of Fame. And he's been glued to the speeches, and we know how much of a Devin Hester fan Braggs is. He probably stole the Devin Hester jersey that I left at our studio the other night. Worried about that one, but we'll get it back. Hey, in the meantime, as we're out at training camp on a daily basis, there's a list of things you need every single day. You want your binoculars, you want your notebook, you want your laminated Adam Hoge roster sheets,
True.
But the most important thing when it is sunny and hot, Shady Rays. You can't go out there without your Shady Rays, and that's because they have quality shades built to last, and our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames, crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. And I could speak to that. I was actually looking yesterday, Carm, at purchasing some new Shady Rays. We got an awesome code, get you 35% off when you use code CHGO. I was going through the website and all different options. You can almost get lost in there because you could sort it by activity. They got options for golf. They got options for fishing. They got options for just hiking or everyday stuff. It's all on there on the Shady Rays website. So go make sure you check it out. They probably have a style in your favorite team's colors as well. And this is exclusive for our listeners. Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use that code I just mentioned, CHGO, for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
And yes, you are still available to come to London with us if you want to get creative through our friends at True Fan Travel, the passport to the world of sports. Over 8,000 fans have traveled over 145 trips. The trusted travel partner for your professional sporting events around the world. And if you go to our friends at truefantravel.com and you click on CHGO, you will see different pricing and packages for what you want to do. There's the 5-night package where you for 1 person per room, 2 people per room, 3 people per room. There is your build your own package. You could do an upper level game ticket, get you into the game, and then all you got to do is purchase one other thing. All inclusive tailgate, pep rally, London boat cruise. Pick what you want. There's the ultimate London event package. You get the boat cruise, you get the pep rally, you get the all inclusive tailgate, and you get the upper level game ticket. All these things are there for you, as you can basically customize your package and come with us. So if you haven't done the whole thing yet. You didn't. Don't worry. We still could get you in here on a level that you will enjoy. So get around done. Go to truefantravel.com. Come with us to London. It's going to be amazing. October 9th to the 14th. Bears are going to kill the Jaguars. Can't promise that, but that's what we're hoping for. truefantravel.com.
Yeah, and again, I want to just reemphasize what Carman was just talking about. You are now eligible, now that we're in August, to build your own package based off the events that we have. We've gotten a lot of questions about that from people who, already live there or just want to join for one thing here and there. That's all now on there at truefantravel.com. Just find our London trip with CHGO and you can get that done. I know we've had a lot of questions, so that's all there for you now. All right. Yes, Carm, best and worst of the day.
Yeah, I thought I would tee you up to start the best and worst here, Hoger, because, when I walked into practice today, it was the hot sun was beating down. You were hanging close to the right corner of the end zone, and I know that you've got a special best and worst that you want to kick us off with today.
Well, my best is something very specific that actually did come up in the press conferences too. We have seen and we have talked about on the show about the balls getting batted down at the line of scrimmage. And we have discussed, how good that is for the defense and how, if we're being honest, probably something that Caleb Williams is going to have to continue to get better at in finding passing lanes. Physically, we know he's more than capable of, changing his arm angles and being accurate on the move and things like that. But there's still little nuances with his eyes, throwing off his toes sometimes, which is something we've seen Russell Wilson do a lot over the years. Drew Brees used to do it. He's taller than those guys, but we have seen it be an issue where balls are getting batted down at the line of scrimmage. So I loved what I believe was the first time they've done this, first time I've seen it in camp, and it sounded like it was something they added based on what Matt Eberflus said today, where they had basically 4 equipment staffers on the field in 7-on-7. They basically added a defensive line there of staffers holding up those big pads, those long, skinny pads up in the air to basically create these really tall obstacles that Caleb Williams had to maneuver to throw what otherwise are his route combinations in 7-on-7. I love that. I love seeing that. It tells me the Bears are recognizing things that they have to improve on and not afraid to add new things here as we go along. And that's my best, just regardless of what the results of that were. I just love that they did that because it's been a thing and they're trying to get better at it, which is great. My worst just continues to be kind of the list of names that we're seeing not practicing. I'm going to narrow it down specifically, though, to the right side of the offensive line, Carm. We already know Nate Davis has been out, continues to be out, and now 58. I didn't even see him. Did you see him? I didn't see him at all.
I didn't, and that is not the guy you don't want to see. It's one thing not to see Nate Davis. It's another thing not to see Darnell Wright.
So, yeah, and I just hope this doesn't turn into the excuse to not play Caleb Williams this weekend, because Flus has been open and honest about how offensive line attrition will affect playing time in the preseason for the quarterback. And I mean, we didn't really get an answer on what's going on with Darnell Wright, and I don't really know what's going on there, but hopefully he's back, because I wonder if that might actually influence what we see Saturday in Buffalo. So that's my best and worst of the day, Carm.
Yeah, Wright, Davis, Montez Sweat, Andrew Billings, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon not practicing today. So it was a
Jaquan Brisker.
Brisker as well wasn't doing very much, if anything at all. Not good. And this does feel a whole lot like training camp last year, right? It just this is exactly what happened. You kind of tiptoed your way in, and then guys started getting hurt, and then nobody played. And the whole Flus's thing with we'll see in Buffalo. It's like, dude, the guy's got to play. If your guys are injured, he's got to play with backups in front of him. Then don't give him a 7-step drop. manage it as best you can. But my best is I'm going to underline Colin Johnson. I think this guy's going to make the team, Hoge. Maybe I'm going a little too far. But he just does. He is a different body type than what they have in that room at 6'6". You got a lot of Tyler Scotts and DeAndre Carters who just don't have the pure size. Plus, this guy's making plays, and he has played in the NFL before. And today, caught a ball from Caleb, caught a ball from Tyson. He's pretty active. So I'm getting more and more. I am Colin Johnson curious, if you will. And I thought he had another good day out there today. So I will make him my best. My worst. Outside of the injuries, there wasn't a whole lot going on there today. So really, the injuries is top of mind. But DeAndre Carter spoke to the media today, and I thought he was excellent. He gave a lot of detailed answers, very just transparent. But he talked about how Tory Taylor's punt will play this, and we can actually probably play it in a second here. But he talked about Tory Taylor's punting and how, well, it does do a little bit something different. And I just knew that it was underlining Adam Hoge's brilliance, and it started to just creep on me that Carter, I knew I was going to have to hear from Hoge about what Carter said about Taylor and how this is why he didn't punt the other day, and this is the beauty of special teams. And 5 seconds after the press conference ended, Hoge was at his desk telling me about DeAndre Carter and Tory Taylor. Weren't you, Hoge?
Yeah, I mean, but I was mainly listening to you say that you wanted to cut it and bring it to the show, so it kind of seems like you're the one who wants to talk about it.
Well, I do right now because I thought it was interesting. So, Steven, can we play that? He was asked about Tory Taylor and what it's like to catch a Taylor punt. Did you ask that question? I forget. Did you? You must have asked
I
that.
did. Thanks for paying attention. Yes, it was my brilliance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Hoge asked the question, and then we get a drop of Alex Shapiro from NBC Sports Chicago in the middle here to follow up. It's a good listen here. DeAndre Carter explaining the brilliance of Tory Taylor.
He's got a little bit of a different spin on it than a normal righty, I would say. A lot of hang time, a lot of hang time. I wouldn't say, look, other than the spin, it's just, get to the spot and catch the ball, but he's going to be really good, really, really good.
What does that spin do to you?
So really all it is like as a returner, with a normal righty, when the ball turns over, it's going to fall to my left. Tory has a ball where it looks like it's turning over, but then it's almost like it dies and comes back, spins to the right. So you kind of got to keep your feet moving. Once you see it a couple times, like you kind of know it's coming. But if you haven't, it kind of catch you off guard because you're moving to the left and you got to move to the right at the last minute. So
there it is, Carman. Now I got to critique that photo we had up during the interview. If you're watching on YouTube, that was not a clean catch on whatever punt that was. I'm assuming he's returning. So I did. Let's get those elbows in and make sure the ball gets through the hands, so we don't have that happening on game day. But yes, I'm glad that conversation happened today because it was exactly what I was talking about on the post-game show on Saturday night, which is, the details you get to in the NFL are insane, and it can apply to kicks, punts, offensive line, defensive line. It's all the same, like minute details that affect the game so much. And so for a punt returner and for anybody who's trying to be a punt returner, you actually read the spin on the football and can tell, like, when the nose starts to dive, where that ball's probably going to drop or carry. And in Tory Taylor's case, everyone's been saying it's different. And so essentially it goes a different way than you think it's going to go. That's why I don't think he played, because you play the Texans in week 2 and you don't want those returners to get out there and be able, because you heard DeAndre Carter, once you see it a couple times, you get used to it. But until you're used to it, that could play mind games with you. So I appreciated the detail. I'm sure the Texans appreciate the detail too that DeAndre Carter gave us today. But that's a real thing.
And if I'm going to flip my worst into my best right now, maybe we indeed will see in the regular season teams not used to a Tory Taylor, especially in his rookie season, and the Bears will get some turnovers that perhaps they necessarily didn't get in the past. What do you think of that, Hoge?
I think that's what they're banking on.
Yeah,
I think that's a real thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, No, was that? And so I'm just confused why that was your worst though.
Because you got to celebrate being right, and it's at some point it gets a little.
That does suck.
It's just gets a little tiring. But you're on fire, and I appreciate your brilliance, and I learn from you every day. So thank you. I didn't really have a worst. Today's practice was pretty nondescript.
We'll get to more details on that here in a second, but because I mainly agree with you. It's kind of we've seen these reset days coming off days, and that's what today was. Pads will go back on tomorrow, but I do have some more observations from practice though, and we got to let you know. You know this already. It's getting easier for businesses to switch to electric vehicles. That's something we can all get behind for the health of the planet and for the well-being of all of us who share it.
That's exactly right. Adam Hoge, our friends at ComEd are here for you, and they want you to know that the electric grid is evolving to meet your cleaner energy needs as we all move with confidence towards an electric tomorrow. Whether you have one delivery van or a whole fleet of shipping trucks, ComEd can help guide you to make the changes that make sense.
So what should business owners do?
They should go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about the resources, fleet rebates, and infrastructure incentives available to help businesses go electric. If you own a business, do not wait. Start making your plan today to switch to electric vehicles. It's good for business. It's good for the planet. It's good for all of us. Go to ComEd.com/clean.
Did you say ComEd.com/clean?
You know I did. Go now and see how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
And if you know us here at CHGO, you know that we have a big event coming your way, and usually plural. And we've told you about London. We've told you about Arizona. But next up on our list is our second annual, I should say, Kickoff Classic happening at Cog Hill, number 2 on August 23rd. Come on out. We will be there. It's an off day for your favorite football team. So your CHGO Bears team will be out there, and it's presented by Circa Sports Illinois, Coors Light, Shady Rays, and Celts Up. You can sign up as an individual, a twosome, or a foursome. The package includes 18 holes in a cart. You'll get tee gifts. Every single player gets those. Limited edition CHGO pins and aces golf polos are available to purchase as well. We'll have giveaways, prizes for winning teams, unless Steven rigs it again and his team just wins. But other than that, you will get a chance. And by the way, our giveaways are sweet. We gave out a Miller Lite golf bag at the last event. That was fantastic. I wanted to walk out of there with that thing. Lunch, drinks, ceremony after the round. Of course, you get to hang out with us. That's probably the worst part. But if you want to see our faces, you get that too. And we also have more sponsorship opportunities available. If you're interested, go to allchgo.com/events to sign up now. More Hall of Fame conversation on the deck here. And we'll bring in Braggs in a little bit as well. I guess we have a big super chat to throw in here too.
Yeah, Chevy Wellington coming in big here. Hoge, some pushback on your take that DJ Moore was the best trade in Chicago. I said that it's not hard to trade away a number 1 for a wide receiver, and you said it was by design. How? He had a tank season. Call Lovey. Chicago fans want to overhype our GM. Chevy Wellington's been beating the drum on this for a while. You want to defend yourself to Chevy Wellington here?
I'm trying to remember what we were talking about there, but yes, they were bad by design that year. They 100% were. Did they know they were going to end up with the number 1 pick? No, obviously they got lucky there, but I don't understand what that has to do with pulling off the trade that they pulled off.
Chevy Wellington, 1999. Robin would have a problem with your best trade in Chicago history. Take Hoge and something. Listen, hey, Chevy, the Rodman trade, for the record, for Will Perdue, you can't put that in the pantheon of greatest trades in Chicago history. That was just a dump by the Spurs because they wanted to get rid of him. And he fit here because Michael was Michael and they made him good. But, we could go into, things like John Lester coming over, although that wasn't a trade, so don't say that, Carm. Pick
Jake
a better
Arrieta is what you're looking for.
Jake Arrieta is exactly what I'm looking for. That'd be better. That'd be a better one. Trying to think of other teams and other trades, but if that's fine, you can go with Rodman.
That's not important. That's not important right now. The only thing that matters is trying to criticize Ryan Poles for the trade. There's really only one thing to criticize whatsoever, and even that might end up being obsolete. And that's what you tried to help this guy with the other day, and that is that you passed on C.J. Stroud in the trade. Right. That's really the only negative. Otherwise, it's been nothing but success and trying to hold it against the GM because he lucked out on the pick or whatever. That happened before the trade was made. He still could have made a terrible trade. He still could have not gotten DJ Moore out of it. So
he also could have stayed. He also could have stayed at number one to this overall point and picked what everybody else was going to pick there and take Bryce Young, and we would have and traded Justin. That wouldn't have worked out particularly well, at least the way it's gone so far. Put that Robert Lee back up there, that $5 real quick, Steven. We'll just knock it out. Guys, true or false, your opinion of Carman would have been a first-rounder if he was healthy, CHGO to best?
Appreciate you, Robert. I do not believe that would have been the case, no.
No, and it actually looks like they reached in the third round, Robert, and that pick to this point in time on August the 3rd with Carman not being able to get on the field is looking like an odd one. Because you're taking a flyer on a guy who looks like he's going to have a redshirt year. Who knows when he's going to get on the field here? Although it's apparently, according to Flus earlier in the week, he is getting healthier. But
yeah, unfortunately right now it looks like they could use him, and guys are going down. Which brings me back to some notes from today's practice I want to get to. Then we'll bring in Braggs to talk more Hall of Fame on a very busy Saturday for the Chicago Bears. I mentioned earlier just how they were working on the throwing windows for Caleb Williams. I thought he handled that pretty well today. I love some of the throws that Caleb made today as well. One of the best plays of the day came in the 2-minute. It should have ended in a touchdown because Caleb had to scramble out. He read Rome Odunze breaking away from his guy on a scramble drill right at the right time, threw it over the DB's shoulder. Rome was wide open, turning back towards the ball, and Rome just dropped it. Big drop. I mean, not an insignificant drop. I will say that's the first drop I remember Rome having in all of training camp, though. So that's the good news. But that's when you go back to the your position room when you're watching the tape, and that's one you might get reamed out for a little bit because you can't have that.
It was a slow developing play, and Caleb out of the pocket, and it looked like Rome almost thought that the play had been dead, wasn't expecting to get the ball. And the ball, it wasn't his best spiral either, but he was, to your point, wide open and should have caught it. And it was like, whoa, how did you drop that? So that wasn't a great moment of the day for sure.
One guy who did come back to practice, but then ended up leaving again is Travis Homer, your sort of running back special teamer, who missed some time last week, came back and then ran one play today. I don't know. He ran more than one play, but I saw the one play where I noticed him get the ball. He ended up limping off, so that wasn't great. I could tell the Bears are at the point where with Nate Davis missing as much time as he has, I think one of our questions that we've had for Flus, and it's been asked and answered, is do you just have to bail on Ryan Bates as your center at some point because he's got to play guard? Well, today we sort of got our answer because even though Nate Davis wasn't practicing, Bates did work with Caleb Williams as the number one center today, which obviously that moves Coleman Shelton to the number twos. Who's playing guard? Well, obviously if Tevin Jenkins, he's still your starter out there at left guard, but Bill Murray, again, this is just some random name coming up. It's coming up for a reason, but Bill Murray, number 60, ended up being in there at right guard, and then in a different combination of your number one offensive line where they gave Tevin Jenkins a quick breather, it seemed like Bill Murray moved over to left guard. So this is a guy who's showing some versatility as a potential backup, and continue, I think, to keep an eye on Bill Murray, and those are just sort of your offensive line combinations. People wondering, with Darnell Wright out, Matt Pryor was your right tackle, and then Larry Borum also worked in there as well.
Yeah, and I saw Gary asking why not put Borum at right tackle, and that's a fair question. Whenever Flus is asked about Pryor, and he was asked again about it today, he talked about his size, and so I think they're intrigued by what Pryor can do.
Pryor kicked inside the right guard when Borum went to right tackle. So they were trying different combinations today, and Flus did warn us. I appreciated it today that he's gonna. This week in practice, and it probably started today, they're going to give some of these backups more opportunities to go up against starters. So, think about guys like a Bill Murray. Oh, he's looked really good against the twos. Well, what does he look like when he goes against the ones? Like, that's how you got to test these guys. So I like that, again, an adjustment you'll see and hear about this week on our shows.
Well, and you asked Flus about his comment. He said he made what seemed like a fairly bold comment after the Texans game Thursday night that this is a huge week for the Bears. And Hoge, you followed up on that today, like saying, hey, it's a big, you said talk about the big week. And he's like, well, and then he kind of backed off a little bit. He's, well, they're all big. And I'm just trying to read the body language of the Flus here because he seems very calm and easygoing. But I'm also like, dude, it's year 3. There's pressure on you guys to win. You got to get this rookie quarterback off the ground. Now you got a bunch of dudes injured. I sat on it and I didn't ask. Maybe I'll ask later in the week here. But I'm just wondering, like, are you getting antsy here, or are you just, how is this camp going, overall? Because I think they've been very positive every single day, but I'm starting to wonder, like, are they starting to get a little? I mean, the players today, we asked Byard, we asked Cole Kmet, you need any training camp reps or you need any preseason game reps? No, I'm ready to go right now. I can play today.
Cole was hilarious when he was in the middle of an answer and he was trying to reference whatever day it was, and he had to check his watch, as I always do. You forget what day it is. He looks at his watch. It's like August 3rd. That's freaking crazy. Like, it's only August 3rd. Playing in the Hall of Fame game, man, it makes it's nice to have the extra practices. The coaches love it, but this isn't me complaining. It just really does make training camp feel a lot longer.
Well, and listen, they got they got a day off Monday, day off Friday, but they're back on the field Saturday. So take advantage of your time away. But I mean, it's a grinder. That's why that's what they do. That's why they get paid the big bucks, baby.
We don't have time for this on today's show, but I'll tease it for tomorrow because Kevin Byard was super interesting in a conversation that we were having today about how to practice. There's been some bang plays in the end zone that Kevin Byard looks like he's the one giving up touchdowns, but it's not really representative of how it might be in the game situation. And he was really thoughtful and interesting on some back and forth today with that conversation. Let's table that for tomorrow because I do want to get back to the Hall of Fame and bring in Braggs here as well to talk about some of that stuff. But that's not super timely. I think we can bring it to tomorrow's show, but I do think fans should hear it because it's really interesting on, you want to practice the right way. You also want to keep your teammates healthy at the same time. So we'll get back to that. Let's bring in Braggs though. Who's probably having a great day watching the Hall of Fame and his guy Devin Hester. Just us, yeah. Let's use your microphone.
I can yell from all the way over here into my mic. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, why don't you yell and tell us what the best part of today's been for you?
Yeah, I mean, clearly Devin Hester is my favorite player all the time. I busted out this shirt. My anytime shirt. I've had this in the closet for 20 years now. And I still fit in it. So that's a win. No, it was really cool to see. Just got done watching the Julius Peppers one. It was pretty funny. He had a shout out to Bears fans quickly to Julius. Then I'll get back to my love affinity for Devin Hester. He said, to the city and the fans of Chicago, I know you guys didn't draft me, but when I came there, you treated me like I was one of your own. And I appreciate that. So always bear down. And the fans went crazy. And then he proceeded to thank the Packers fans and organization. And then the whole crowd proceeded to boo him. So that was a pretty funny moment in Canton, Ohio, because, Bears fans are completely taking over the scene there in Canton. Nick did a great job of coverage the last few days. But yeah, I mean, I think for me and a lot of us in my age bracket, Devin Hester is our favorite player of all time. Roma Dunze, it's his favorite player of all time, and that's the impact he has for us that didn't get to see a Super Bowl, didn't experience the 85 Bears. The guy that brought electricity, the guy that made a lot of us the Bears fan we are today is Devin Hester. And for me, that's definitely the case. And, when he first got drafted, by the Bears coming out of Miami, if you had paid attention to college football back then, he was electrifying televisions in college. So if you were watching, you knew about this guy, and he didn't really have a position. But the other thing that kind of lined up with the Bears, and I saw Herb Howard tweeting about this, that he was predicting the Bears would go to the Super Bowl that next year if they drafted Devin Hester. So he was on top of it the same way. And I'm sure Adam Hoge remembers this as well, is the Bears desperately needed a punt returner, kick returner that year. The year before they went to the playoffs and lost to the Panthers, and they didn't have a guy that could catch a punt. They had Bobby Wade back there, and they had serious issues catching punts. And we're going through that right now, so we understand just the importance that part of the game is, and special teams is always important here in Chicago. So he came at a perfect time with the perfect team and the perfect coach. And to watch his induction ceremony today, and all
did you get choked up? Did you get choked up at any point?
Well, see, I'm a very emotional guy. I know that's no surprise to you, but it might be a surprise.
No.
Yes, very emotional. The tears definitely came out a few times. When I see someone else cry with pure emotion like that, it'll trigger emotion within me. So him talking about his former wide receiver coach who passed away a few years ago, he got choked up there. Talking about his wife and his mom and his kids, and seeing just the pouring out of emotion for him. And that's been going on all weekend. I mean, last night they did the gold jacket dinner ceremony where him and Deion Sanders embraced. And if you followed their relationship through his career, you know how much Deion has meant to Devin. And
yeah, that goes back to Miami.
Right. And so, and so those two, watching those guys hug, that got me choked up last night. So he's been triggering me here for about a week now, with all the different interviews he's done. It can't be understated. He talked about how all the firsts in his career is how he knew that he was made to be in this game, to play football. And first time he ever, got a handoff in high school, took it for 22 yards for a touchdown. First time he took the kickoff return in the Orange Bowl, the big game, Miami versus Florida. He house calls it in the same stadium that he one day will return a Super Bowl return for, first kickoff return in the Super Bowl to start the game for a touchdown. His first game as a Chicago Bear against the Green Bay Packers, touchdown, house call. First time on Monday Night Football, house call to win the game, Monday Night Miracle. His first time in the playoffs. People forget that in the year that he took it to the house for the Super Bowl, he housed one against the Seahawks that they called back on a bullshit block in the back. That Robbie Gould ended up winning the game, but Devin had won it right before that, where he housed one. I can recite to you every single step he ever took as a Chicago Bear. The Bears released this little graphic where they showed all his different routes for touchdowns. It was a really cool little visual. I can tell you every one of those touchdowns, and I'm sure a lot of Bears fans can as well. His high school stats, guys, because I know Carm just doesn't realize the amazingness that is Devin Hester. So I'll tell you, in his senior year of high school,
Mark, do you think if you and I just left,
you guys could just leave?
Minutes,
yeah, you guys
came back.
Yeah, you can just leave, and I'll do this for you guys here. His senior year of high school, ladies and gentlemen, he rushed for 921 yards, had received for 957 yards, scored 20 touchdowns, threw 5 touchdown passes, had 72 tackles, and 5 interceptions. Ladies and gentlemen, Devin Hester is a legend, an all-time great. To watch him get inducted today, he should have been a first ballot. We'll let it go. Beautiful moment for Devin Hester today.
All right, couple things. Number one, you didn't just let it go. You brought it back up. Number two, when you say it can't be understated, you meant to say it can't be overstated. Not you're overstating, right? Yeah, no. Right. That's fine. And Greg, if I may, it's almost like, as far as the not going in on the first ballot, and just the way that some of the conversation around him, being the only returner that's in there, he is constantly reminding everybody what he did. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder to anyone who doesn't think that he belongs. Hey, man, just so you remember, when I was in high school, I started on the offensive side of the ball, I started on the defensive side of the ball. I did the same thing, by the way, in college. Offense and defense. Now they put me at kick returner because I was so great with the football, and then I became the best to ever do it. Like he is not bashful in letting people know how freaking awesome he was, and good for him, by the way.
Yeah.
Let it be known.
He wears the GOAT gold chain now, deservedly so. There's only so many people that live with the GOAT moniker. Gretzky, Michael Jordan, who was also on hand today to add to the specialness for a person like me and everybody, fans, like to see Michael there. I know he was there for Dwight Freeney. Julius Peppers gave him a shout out, but you talk about the number 23 here in the city of Chicago. You had Jordan and Hester there on hand, to go along with all the other 23 greats of Chicago, so you're right. And one of the other great moments of his speech, Adam, I know you haven't seen it yet, but, he said, I may be the first returner of all time, but there are others that deserve to be in. And he mentioned Brian Mitchell and Josh Cribbs, and Brian Mitchell specifically definitely deserves a nod. And he may not get in there just because of the way that the voting process works. But it was cool to see him acknowledge that, like, hey, I was the first of all time and I'm proud of that, but there's other people that deserve to get in too. And then he also acknowledged, like, hey, I'm going to be watching this Hall of Fame committee going forward and seeing how they put a spotlight, on the kick return game. Because now we know with the kick return changes, that could open the door to this making a bigger impact. There's just so much you can go to. I mean, Jack Silverstein put out a stat. He's been citing it for a few years now because you were asking me the other day, Carm, like who was better, Matt Forte or Devin Hester, who was more impactful. And, Jack Silverstein said the Bears offense and special teams when Hester and Forte were teammates, Matt Forte had 22.1% of their offense and special teams yards. Devin Hester, 19.9%. And you talk about the amount of snaps that Matt Forte had compared to Devin Hester. They pale in comparison. The amount of times that Matt Forte had the ball instead of Devin Hester, and they had virtually the exact same impact. And when you know that Devin Hester was taking most of his balls to the house, that just goes to show you why you got the gold jacket here today.
Plus, there's the hidden yardage that can really never be measured, which is just the field position the Bears got when they kicked it away from Devin, and that huge impact on the game. That really, it's at this point silly to even litigate, because those of us that were, locked in for all of those games all the time, and certainly when you talk to opposing coordinators, opposing coaches, how terrified they were of number 23, and then you have the stubborn ones like Todd Sauerbrown, who was, I'm gonna kick to him anyway, and then he had to deal with those consequences because Esther said, okay, you're gonna give me the ball, I'm gonna take it to the house. And then same thing at the Super Bowl with Tony Dungy, their whole plan not to kick it to him, and they said, let's do it, it's the Super Bowl. And then they regretted that, although they did get the last laugh with the win. I want to bring up one more aspect of this that I wanted to make sure I brought to the table today, and that is you might have seen him real briefly in the video we played earlier where Nick talked to Charles Tillman and Jerry Zuma. But for a brief second, sitting behind Charles Tillman, you might have seen him, Jeff Joniak. And Jeff Joniak's calls of Devin Hester's returns they have to be part of this story, because the whole "you are ridiculous" line, comes from those calls. Just the one part I did catch today, because I happened to be watching at the right time, was when they kind of started the Devin Hester part of the program and the highlights they showed going into break. And it's all Joniak, and all the great calls he had. And I know for him, Jeff's very humble and probably wouldn't want this to be about him at all. But, this is really like the second Hall of Famer from his era of calling games. The first would have been Urlacher, but Urlacher, it's different calling the defensive players' highlights, right? It's, unless it's like an interception return or the fumble recovery against the Packers, like that he returned, there's very few highlights per se that the play-by-play announcer is really a part of. And for Devin, I think it's part of the story. I think it's part of this legacy. And I just hope that gets the acknowledgement it deserves, because those calls were iconic.
Well, you were running back. You missed the ceremony today. Obviously, you're going to go back and watch it. But when you do, you'll see a sign, in the distance that they showed. Devin Hester, you are ridiculous. So that and I was like, that is really cool. There it is.
Ridiculous.
Well, then that's Jeff, man. That's JJ.
Right.
Obviously, Devin's the one on the field, but JJ, he.
Well, and to your point, Hoge, interception, Brian Urlacher, he's not taking it 90 yards. And when you watch, a kick return or a punt return, that gets to show the creativity of a call with Jeff Joniak, because it's, breaks free, misses an open tackle to the 20, to the 30, and he's really chronicling you. because you're listening on the radio, you can't see it. So he's describing it in a way that you can really visualize in the moment as you're riding in your car. And Jeff, his Super Bowl call is one of the calls that will live forever in NFL history. And so I completely agree with you. And to that point, when they were showing Steve Mongo McMichael, because I think we definitely need to touch on him, and we resonate more with Devin because he's more of our era. But with Steve Mongo McMichael, and they showed his highlight reel, a lot of his calls were by Wayne Larrivee. And I love Wayne Larrivee. I grew up watching Wayne Larrivee call Bears games and Bulls games. And every time you see a Jordan highlight or 85 Bears, there's Wayne Larrivee on the call. And I tweeted at it. I was like, I hope Wayne Larrivee knows that every time I hear him calling these, that it rips something out of my soul to know that he now is the guy that calls games for the Packers. Like, you ruined my life, Wayne. Thank you very much. But, but with Mongo, I think to finish this off and put a bow on this, let you guys get back to finish it up, whatever camp thoughts you have. Excited to see pads on tomorrow. But, the whole Mongo thing, like we said the other night on the postgame show, his achievements on the field have been tremendous. And he said, I don't want my legacy to be remembered as the guy that had ALS. I want my legacy to be remembered as the football player I was that gave my heart and soul to this team and this league and left it all on the field. And we certainly will. But as I said before, his achievement to tough this out, through ALS and make it to this moment where he could appreciate it. I know it's not easy, seeing him in the condition he is, laying there bedside, and Misty's always there for him. And there's, everybody goes there and still hangs out with him and greets him, but you can see it in his eyes that he's still there. And, my wife's a nurse, and we were sitting there talking about it, and she was like, that's why it's just such a brutal disease. He's there 100% as a person, but he cannot function any part of his body. And that's just what makes it such an awful disease. Like, I can't imagine what that's like. That's just got to be a life of torment. But he's toughing it out, and I'm sure a big part of his motivation to make it through was to get to this point. So I'm happy for him that he was able to get his flowers in this moment and put a spotlight on just how special he is. And you saw all his teammates there at his house here tonight or today. He got to see the bust. He's got a great, that's going to live forever, in the Hall of Fame. And I'm glad that he knows that and got to experience that today.
Mongo's bust with the hair was
great.
Loved it. Great. Absolutely loved it. Greg, great stuff. Appreciate you jumping on and breaking down everything with Hester. I can't wait to go back and watch it a little bit later on. And tomorrow's a padded practice, open to the public. Greg will be there. And we will break it all down once practice is over.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. Hey, maybe because, I do have access to all this production stuff. Maybe I'll just go live at like midnight and we can talk about Hester for like 2 hours. Me, you in the chat. We don't need Carm here, the hater that he is. We'll just enjoy this moment together, Bears fans. No, I'm leaving. I'm sorry. I know you were trying to sign me out. Beautiful day for Bears fans. 3 different players get inducted in the Hall of Fame. Do not wave goodbye to me. Excited for the pads to come on. I'll sign myself out. You'll never sign me out. You can't tell me what to do.
The
Why am I getting okay?
The control he has over the production behind the scenes of this is frightening, quite frankly. It has me worried. And don't you? Okay, go ahead and ask your question you're about to ask, because I'm ready to answer it.
Yeah, no, I know you are. Listen, just because I was willing to have an engaged conversation about Devin does not mean that you have to like Carman being so negative. I'm not being negative today. I've been celebrating the guy all day. What do you want me to do? Devin had a beautiful ceremony today. I was touched by it. Steve McMichael, if we're talking about that era, it was the greatest era in Bears football. Nobody's going to argue that. Mongo was right in the middle of it. The guy was freaking phenomenal, and he finally got his just due. Should have been in the Hall of Fame 2 decades ago, but at least he got in. At least he got in now, and to Bragg's making an unbelievable point. You talk about a tough guy. There's no way you put me in his shoes or put 99.999% in his shoes. There's no way they make it to how long he's lived with this. This guy his will to live is unfreaking-leavable. It underlines just what a tough, Mongo is one of one.
Yeah. It was cool seeing your guy Michael Jordan there today. He was really there. It sounded like for Dwight Freeney because they're close friends. However, I did see Julius Peppers gave Jordan a shout out too with the of course they got the North Carolina connection.
I really wanted to come and support Dwight. He came for Dwight Freeney. Couldn't have been there for Mongo, for Hester. I really like Dwight Freeney. Dwight Freeney? Are you serious?
They're friends, you moron.
Listen, Hester.
He's
McMichael,
not.
He is.
Walter
Payton used to go over to his house. He'd show up at MJ's house. Jared Payton would open the door. Don't tell me he's not a Chicagoan. I was hoping he was there for the Bears. I'm here for Dwight Freeney.
He lives in Charlotte, and he owns a NASCAR team right now.
I understand.
And he's friends with Dwight Freeney. He's not Mongo's buddy. Although I'm sure there's some stories there.
Freeney. Dwight Freeney. That's classic. That is vintage. That's exactly what the Jordan voice is all about, by the way. I'm here for Dwight Freeney. Oh God!
All right, let's get to some super chats here on the way
Dwight
out.
Freeney.
Chevy, our guy, folks in the chat. Poles got the luxury of being the richest football team in football, having back-to-back #1 overalls. Let's stop with the poor Pole stuff. I'm TMing Haagen-Dazs, which is I'm actually disappointed you messed that up earlier, Carm. He was going for the Haagen-Dazs reference with Hogan-Dazs.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
He does say best Bears show. Sorry, I'm critical. I'm a Bears fan. Chevy, we love it. You could say whatever you want. You keep bringing up richest football team, though. I'm assuming you're talking about the cap space that they had, which Ryan Poles created. They had no space when he took over. They couldn't do anything. He had to cut all the fat and trade it away and get out of all those bad contracts. He did all that, which gave them the financial flexibility they've had the last 2 years. That was him. And yes, it was all by design to be bad that first year so that they would have high draft capital. No, they didn't know they'd have the #1 pick, but it certainly worked out that way. And then he took advantage of it. Also, for the 1 million time, the reason they had back-to-back picks, #1 overall, was because of the trade he pulled off. That was the Panthers' #1 pick last year. It wasn't because they were bad back-to-back years. All right, I'm done with that. Keep sending the super chats, though. We appreciate it.
I love you, Chevy. You just keep being you, buddy. Keep getting Hoge underneath the Hoge skin, although I'm agreeing with everything that Hoge's saying, by the way.
Well, everybody except for Chevy is agreeing with what Hoge's saying. Gritty, $2. Haagen-Dazs was a classic ice cream treat.
It's so delicious.
I think we need a collab with an ice cream company right now. I would eat it. It would probably have to be Haagen-Dazs. All right, Carrie Huss, $50. Love
Huss.
this super chat.
He's calling our name, baby.
I thought you were going to do the song again.
Huss. Thought I hear you calling our name on a Saturday. It's Huss. Huss. I'll read this one, Hoge. Huss. Loved getting to watch Bears football. A lot of good, a little bad. 1 week till Caleb's debut. Great show, boys. Bear down. We'll see about that, Huss, as far as the debut. Don't underestimate the Flus's ability to not play his players if he's not completely comfortable here in the preseason. I think he's going to play. I'd bet on him playing, but I'm a little bit nervous he's not going to play.
Especially if the offensive line continues to look like it did today. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. We don't really even know what's going on with Darnell Wright, so that might have just been a one-day thing. Who knows? By the way, we get to talk to referee John Hussey this week. I'm a little afraid that you're going to sing that song at him.
I will not hussy the huss.
Okay. Thank God.
I know that you at Fish Bay were very excited about the hussy situation. So
I am. I got questions.
I'll be interested.
I do.
Great. I'll have to work on my hussy questions. I don't have any questions for hussy right now.
Yeah, I know you don't. It's fine.
Hussy, what's your number one question for Hussy before we go? Please tell me. I don't know if he's getting ready to leave or he's going to give me his notes from his. He's got it.
I have questions written down.
Let's see what you got. What do you got?
Well, a couple of them are just I am a little. I need some clarification on a couple of the rules with the kickoff.
Okay, like what?
All right. Well, mainly about why the illegal procedures or guys leaving earlier is not added on to the end of the play.
That's a good question.
And then I do actually, believe it or not, want to follow up on Braggs' conspiracy theories on what that 12th man can and cannot do. Not really. I really just want to know what the actual penalty would be if it happened. That's actually important.
Okay, but the Braggs, that you guys realize that when the wind was kicking up before, sometimes dudes would run out there and hold the ball. This has been going on it's not the first time this has happened.
No, Carm. It was somebody already on the field who held the ball. Your number 5 who's closest to the kicker would come hold the ball and then run downfield and be involved in the play.
Excellent
it was not
point.
a 12th man.
Excellent point. Delete that from the pod. Whatever. There's been a guy down there holding the football before. I guess so. Okay. I stand corrected. First time I've ever made a mistake. Whatever. I know he's correct, Ross. It felt like somebody else was coming out of the stands. Maybe I saw that in a high school game. I'm making that up right now to try to save my point. Don't ask him about what's going to happen if the 12th guy falls and ends up still on the field. Actually, do ask that. Do it for Braggs.
I am going to do it for Braggs. And there was another super up there from Keno 773-499. So does this contract guarantee that DJ Moore will go into the Hall of Fame as a Bear and not a Panther?
Damn right it does, Keno.
Yeah, I mean, well, if he plays out the rest of the 6 years, it would be 7 years with the Bears, 5 with the Panthers, and 3 Super Bowls with the Bears. So yeah.
And DJ, he's so chill. He'd be like, well, I don't see him. He's going in as a Bear. Let's just leave it at that.
Okay, I didn't know he made the Hall of Fame yet. Gritty says this is a great show today. Carman and Hoagie Cat holding it down with nice samplings of Nick and Braggs. Great way to procrastinate mowing my lawn.
I gotta go take the dog out. I gotta go pick up my friend Adam down the street. I gotta get dinner going. There's a lot. I gotta upload the pod. Me and you, Gritty.
No one asked you what you had to do.
I asked me what I had to do. You're not
going to
take away. You're not taking away from me and Gritty living the same life. I am partnering with Gritty to the end.
All right,
Gritty.
I'm going to go have a beverage. Is what I'm going to do.
Nobody asked you what you're going to do, Howard. Nobody asked you if you're going to go make yourself an old fashioned with your bitters and your Braggs and your upper level. What's that thing called? The masher of the thing, the knobbler,
muddler.
Yeah, the muddler.
Muddles.
Nobody asked you about your muddler, Hoge.
I'm gonna muddle you.
Hoge's got a great muddler. For those who are still with us here, outstanding.
Nobody's with us anymore. Everybody left.
One of the great muddlers of all time. That muddler is freaking awesome. I'll bet you he can tell you why he bought the muddler and why it's such a good muddler. This is a good muddler.
That was actually a gift. And I don't even muddle anymore. I have hacks to get around the muddling. No one wants to muddle. All right, we gotta go. Make sure you're following us on social media. Hit that like button, especially if you like the shenanigans here. We will be back tomorrow. Padded practice tomorrow. We will be there. We'll break it all down. Should be a good one. Back to 2:00 start time. Tomorrow's show. We'll talk to you then.
We all silly like the mayor.